There was a time when dinner wasn't just something you grabbed between meetings or ate on the go. It was an event. The whole family gathered around the table, stories were shared, and the food, well, it meant something. Some dishes were passed down for generations, written on old recipe cards, maybe tucked into cookbooks that lived on top of the fridge. But somewhere along the way, many of those meals just disappeared. Today, we're taking a warm, tasty walk down memory lane, looking at 10 iconic American dishes that quietly slipped off the dinner table. Let's see how many of these you remember. 1. Tomato aspic, Jell-O, but make it dinner. If you've never had tomato aspic, consider yourself lucky. But back in the 1950s, this was considered pretty classy. It was basically tomato juice mixed with gelatin, chilled in a mold, and filled with things like celery or shrimp. It was tangy, jiggly, and surprisingly popular at luncheons and holiday dinners. These days, though, most folks have traded in the savory Jell-O for something a little less wobbly. 2. Ham loaf, the meatloaf nobody talks about. Before spiral hams were the holiday go-to, families often made ham loaf. It was a mix of ground ham and pork, shaped like a meatloaf, glazed with something sweet, usually pineapple or brown sugar. It was big in Pennsylvania and the Midwest, especially for Sunday dinners. But over time, as tastes changed and store-bought meats got flashier, ham loaf quietly left the spotlight. 3. Chicken a la king, fancy without the fuss. In the mid-20th century, chicken a la king was what you made when company came over. Creamy chicken in a white sauce, with mushrooms and green peppers, poured over toast or rice. It felt just fancy enough, but still comforting. It was a big hit in the 40s and 50s, but as people moved toward quicker, lighter meals, this creamy classic started to fade away. 4. Molded salads, the crown jewel of retro potlucks. Lime Jell-O with shredded carrots, or lemon gelatin with olives. Sound strange? It was. But back in the day, molded salads were all the rage. They looked impressive, were easy to make ahead, and always got people talking. Still, once fresh salads became more common and cookbooks got prettier pictures, these wobbly creations fell out of favor. 5. Salisbury steak, a dinner tray staple. If you remember TV dinners, you probably remember Salisbury steak. It was that oval-shaped patty, swimming in brown gravy, served next to mashed potatoes and corn. Originally, it was meant to be a healthier beef option, named after Dr. Salisbury in the late 1800s. But over the years, it became tied to cafeteria food and frozen trays, and eventually lost its spot on the family menu. 6. Liver and onions, the ultimate love-it-or-hate-it dish. For some, liver and onions brings back warm memories. For others, not so much. It was rich in nutrients and super affordable, which made it a favorite during tough times. Cooked with caramelized onions, it had a distinct smell that filled the whole house. But as other proteins became easier to get and picky eaters got pickier, liver became one of those dishes people just stopped making. 7. Tuna noodle casserole, creamy comfort in a dish. There was a time when every pantry had canned tuna, cream of mushroom soup, and egg noodles, because that's all you needed for tuna noodle casserole. Topped with crushed chips or breadcrumbs, it was warm, filling, and budget-friendly. Especially during the 1950s and 60s, when feeding a big family meant getting creative. But these days, it's rare to see it outside of a vintage cookbook. 8. Waldorf salad, apples and mayo at the fancy table. Created at New York's Waldorf Hotel way back in the 1890s, this salad was once the symbol of elegance. Apples, celery, walnuts, and mayonnaise, sometimes grapes, all mixed together and served chilled. It made its way into homes across America during the mid-1900s. But let's be honest, the mayo threw a lot of people off. Eventually, it became one of those things you'd see at a church potluck, not on a dinner plate. 9. Corned beef hash, leftovers done right. After World War II, when nothing went to waste, corned beef hash was the go-to way to turn leftovers into breakfast gold. Potatoes, onions, and corned beef, all diced up and fried until crispy, topped with a fried egg. It was a diner favorite and a weekend treat. But today, with quicker breakfast options and lighter fare on the rise, hash doesn't show up much anymore, except maybe in a can. 10. Baked Alaska, dessert with drama. This wasn't just dessert, it was a show. Baked Alaska had cake, ice cream, and meringue all in one, baked just long enough to brown the outside without melting the inside. Some places would even light it on fire at the table. It wowed guests, especially at fancy dinners. But between the prep, the timing, and the sheer effort, most folks traded Baked Alaska in for simpler sweets. It's now more of a legend than a recipe. It's funny how food has a way of bringing memories back to life. One bite, or even the thought of a dish, and suddenly, you're back at the dinner table, hearing the clink of silverware and your dad asking for seconds. So tell us, did any of these bring back memories? Maybe your family still makes one or two of them. Share your story down in the comments. And if this trip through the kitchens of yesteryear warmed your heart, be sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss another moment from the Golden Days. This is Golden Days TV. Thanks for watching,